Dodes'ka-den, 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 Dodes'ka-den. Say that 9,000 times fast and call me a trolley freak, why don't you? Hello there, CriterioNate here, number 465, Akira Kurosawa's Dodes'ka-den, which doesn't have a real translation. I guess you'd say clickety-clack or, watch your back and all that. 1970, 140 minutes, color manual in Japanese with English subtitles 1.5. Great movie. It's Kurosawa, so it's great. His first movie after Redbeard, which was from 1965. Another one, the one I have to watch again because I don't remember that one in the slightest. I mean, I know it's got Mifune and he's got the red beard, and yeah, that's all. And he's a doctor, and that's all I remember. And it was 5 years, almost 5.5 years between his films, and I guess the history goes that he had been working. He was actually invited to work on the screenplay for a movie called Tora Tora Tora, but as he started working on it, I think he was working with Daryl Zanuck and all that, and he got dropped from the project because he became I guess too hard to work with or something like that. And so it kind of put him in a bad place, and so he's like, okay, now I need to make a movie, and it got him back in. And I guess watching the It Is Wonderful to Create series, I learned that this was this is his first color film, and he was originally at first very weary about using color because he didn't think it was impressive enough. And then he saw the movie Ivan the Terrible Part 2, Eisenstein, which number 80 something or other. And the dance scene, which I constantly keep forgetting that dance scene was shot in color. Eisenstein was brilliant. The whole movie's in black and white, except for that dance scene. It's all in color, and then it goes back to black and white. It's like, that's a brilliant use of color and all that. And it's stark, and so Kurosawa, seeing this, said, all right, I'll give it a shot. And so he says that Dodes'ka-den was his trial run in making a movie in color. And personally, I think it works. It works beautifully. It's an amazingly, gorgeously shot film. And past the presentation, the story is definitely one that really is a little. It's a little daunting because of its length, and also because of how many storylines are on top of each other and how they're interwoven and all that. But it's a movie you can kind of get. It's another one of those movies you can kind of get a little bit lost in. I definitely got lost a couple times, but I picked myself more or less right back up when I want to see again, because I feel like now I know all the characters. I want to watch them again because sometimes when you watch a movie, you're not sure as to when you're introduced to a character, and for me, it's they don't necessarily say the names of the characters at certain points, or they say them like later on, and you're just supposed to know who they are. So anyway, interesting movie. Let me give you a little bit of the plot. It's just about these people who live in like kind of a rural part, like sort of near a garbage dump. And they're sort of on the outskirts of town. It starts off with this boy, Roku-chan, who is it Roku-chan? Roku-chan, yeah. And he's this young boy, and every day he has like these, he pretends that he is the conductor of a trolley car or like a train. He pretends he's a train conductor. And he, puts on his imaginary hat and says goodbye to his mom. And he gets into his imaginary train, and he expects it, and he pretends like people are working on it and all that. And then he gets inside, and he, chokes along, and he makes the sound of the train, like Dodes'ka-den, 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 Dodes'ka-den. And so we see him travel into the town, through the town, where and then they drop us off there. And from that point on, we see him intermittently throughout the film, but most of it focuses on the what happens with all the other people. There's a bunch of characters. I won't name them all, but there's the there's the wife who has a bunch of kids, and I guess the father and like a bunch of kids through other suitors, and her husband, I guess, like treats them as his own, even though I think he's aware that they're not his kids, and they believe that they are. They're starting to believe that he isn't their father, and she keeps sleeping with other men, even though she treats them all equally, I guess. There's also the old man and his son, or the man and his son, who the man is like constantly obsessed with like picturing his perfect home. Like we see him describing it to his son, and then we see like the gate, him designing the gate and the kitchen and the walls and all that. His son goes out and gets food, and at one point he goes into town and begs for food or all that, and he doesn't really beg. He just walks in with his little bucket, and some people give him food, some people shoo him away. And at one point, and toward the end of the movie, he ends up getting food poisoning and getting sick. He has bad diarrhea, and he becomes sicker and sicker to the point where he ends up passing away toward the end, and it kind of shocks the dad and all that. There's also, oh god, who else is there? Maybe again, there's so many characters in this movie. There's the thieves, who the guy who lets his place be robbed or something. I couldn't pick up on that. There's also the old man, and I forget his name, but he's this old man who like goes about who like has a daily routine, and he does it in such a way that like he doesn't like make eye contact. He just does it, and this younger woman comes in and helps him out, and I guess kind of falls for him or something. I think her name is not Ocho, I think. Gosh, everybody kind of got a little mixed up here. Let's see, who else we got here? There's seriously a billion people here. And there's also probably the darkest storyline involves Katsuko, who is this young girl who lives with her uncle Kyota and her aunt Otane. And Kyota gets drunk one night and rapes Katsuko, and she ends up getting pregnant by him. And he ends up denying it, but when the cops start to close in on him, he packs everything and just leaves. And it kind of throws her into a loop and all that. And so I won't tell you what happens to her, but it's pretty interesting, the way Kurosawa tells her story. So it's basically the story is about all these people who are living in a situation or with a situation that they're not agreeing with, and again, it's up to them as to whether or not they are going to get out of their situation, or are they going to stay where they are and just live with what they've got. I think overall the movie is an interesting look at people who live together and live separately. I liked this movie. I really did. I want to see this again. I probably am going to pick this up because it's Kurosawa and it's a strong Kurosawa. I would say, I don't know where I would rank this one. I would say it's definitely top 10. I know there's still a lot of Kurosawa movies I still need to see, and I think there's so much more to this movie that I need to figure out. I enjoyed this, and it's just hard to describe because it's such a different movie from what I'm used to. I feel like with other Kurosawa movies, we're focusing on one. There is usually one big character. We may get a whole bunch of other characters, but we've usually got one character that kind of or one or two characters kind of the movies are centered around. With Dodes'ka-den, it's anybody's game. everything centers around this town. I mean, you can argue that Roku-chan is the central figure because he's the beginning and the end. At the end of the movie, we see him pulling back into his station and hanging up his hat and going to bed. At the end of the day, and so kind of like taking us back to where it begins. So you can kind of argue that he is the central character, even though we don't see him as much. And I guess rightfully so. Maybe that's the best way to look at it, because how would we get to that town without him, without his transportation? It's like he kind of started all this. This kid right there, he kind of started all of this. So yeah, I like this movie. I thought it was a really interesting piece of work, and Kurosawa said he enjoyed making this movie. It sadly, I guess, didn't do as well in Japan as he wanted it to the point where he ended up attempting suicide shortly after the movie was released. And that kind of makes me sad, that was almost his last film, but thankfully it wasn't. He made, a few other films afterwards, including ones we've seen already, Kajimusha, or Kajishima, Ron, and ones we will see, like Dreams, in a few, however many years. So, yeah, it's definitely a pivotal kind of movie for Kurosawa, and one that, if you're a fan of his work, Seven Samurai, okay, Rashomon, okay, I would, give Dodes'ka-den a shot. It's definitely a really, really passionate film. It's a very passionate film. It's also a very moving film, and it's also a very story-driven film. Plenty of stories. Yeah. That's all I'll say. I give this movie an A. It's a very, very intricate work that pays off in the end. That you want to watch again as soon as it's over. I want to watch again as soon as it's over, but sadly I don't have that kind of time on my hands. But sooner than later, I'm gonna give this one another shot because I dug it. But it was Kurosawa. I would be very surprised if I didn't like it. At least to some extent, So, yeah. Dodes'ka-den, A, go. Supplements, of course, the Akira Kurosawa, It Is Wonderful to Create, 30-minute documentary, 36-minute documentary, the trailer, and that's it. So, you really cannot go wrong with, if all you really need is this and the It Is Wonderful to Create series, so that's all you really need. So, good stuff yet again. Dodes'ka-den, A, go get it. Or watch it, and then go get it. So, that's it for today. Tomorrow, this. Ugh. And maybe tomorrow as well, or maybe Thursday, this. Ugh. And then, depending on that, and then after that, this. No, wait a minute. No, after that, this either Thursday or Friday. Gonna take some time, so we'll have to try and get it done. I'm aiming on doing both of these tomorrow because Thursday is probably my best day to get all 3 discs of this done. So we shall see. Fingers crossed. Wish me luck, guys. Hit. After that, the hit. Wise Blood. I'm still waiting on Alexander Korda's Private Lives. And I put a hold on the one after that, the Pigs, Pimps, and Prostitutes. 3 films by Shohei Imamura, which I'm not looking forward to as well because of Shohei Imamura. I haven't been impressed by anything that guy's done. So hopefully we'll get to those. And then I put a hold on The Friends of Eddie Coyle, which I used to have. I don't know if I've shown you. Some of you might know I used to have that on DVD, but I since sold it. And The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I put a hold on Bergman Island, which we've already seen that one, but I'm gonna give it its own thing, even though there's really not much to it. You know, I've talked about. I think I talked about it in the review to the seventh, because it's included in the reissue of the Seventh Seal. So there you go. Why you put it out on as its own, you know, spine number, and then you slop it together with one of the first spine numbers. So anyway, Criterion's weird. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Don't rape, and and don't eat a raw fish. Make sure your fish is cooked before you eat it. If you eat it, if you must eat it. I don't eat fish, so but if you do it, whatever, just whatever. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will regretfully see you all, and I do mean all. See you all, and I mean all of you for this movie right here. So, anyway, until then, goodbye.